Tonight on CBC Vancouver News. A Vancouver Canuck refuses to wear the Pride jersey.
We live in a democracy and a free country, and if that's what he chooses to do, that's his call.
If everybody's wearing his Pride jersey, or they are, then he should too.
The controversy over Andrei Kuzmenko's decision on Canucks Pride Night. The fight for equity.
Trans people, we're here, and we're allowed to exist.
Breaking down stigma and discrimination on Trans Visibility Day. And the illegal dumping of slaughterhouse waste.
That's about all that the Ministry of Environment has achieved. They haven't slowed it down, they haven't stopped it, they've just moved it.
A Vancouver Island community demands answers on why it's still happening 3 years on.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Lien Yeung. Anita is away tonight. The Vancouver Canucks are the latest NHL team to find itself mired in Pride jersey controversy after one player has chosen not to wear the jersey at tonight's Pride celebrations. CBC's Michelle Gassoub joins us now live. So, Michelle, what do we know about the player and why he won't wear the jersey?
Yeah, so the player at the center of this is Andrei Kuzmenko. He's a forward with the Canucks and has become somewhat of a fan favorite. Now he's 27 years old and a first-year NHLer from Russia. The Canucks head coach did not provide an explanation for Kuzmenko's decision, but said he respected it and that it was made in consultation with his family. Now, this isn't a totally isolated decision. There have been at least 5 other players across the league who have said they won't put on the jersey. The rest of the Canucks will be wearing them tonight, some of them even making very public statements about the importance of Pride to them. Now, the NHL has been quick to say the LGBTQ community should not feel like the league is turning their back on them, and analysts say this has been a turning point for the league.
This is something new that the NHL teams and players are having to deal with this year and vocalizing. So I'm sure there will be, I hope there will be discussions and education that happens in the off season regarding this moving forward.
So, Michelle, a lot of different issues being raised here and the overall culture of hockey at the center of it. What are you hearing from fans?
Yeah, lots and lots of thoughts and opinions from fans tonight. Of course, many of them wondering if this is because he is from Russia, has family in Eastern Russia. Russia, as we know, has instituted a number of homophobic laws, and people speculating whether he is concerned about facing repercussions from back home. That being said, there are other Russian players who have worn the Pride jersey with no apparent consequence to them, and it is important to note that Kuzmenko himself has not said anything to indicate that that is the reason for his decision. As you would imagine, Lien, fans out on the streets of Vancouver tonight have lots and lots of thoughts and opinions about this story.
Thanks for letting us know the type of person you are.
I don't know if I fully agree with it, but I support it because we don't know what's going on back at home.
If everybody's wearing his Pride jersey, or they are, then he should too.
We live in a democracy and a free country, and if that's what he chooses to do, that's his call. I don't agree with it at all.
And Lien, it is important not to forget that the purpose of these Pride Nights is really to show people in hockey, whether they're fans, whether they're staff, players, that the sport will be welcoming to members of the LGBTQ community, a sport that hasn't always been very welcoming to them. Important to note again that up to this date, there has not been an openly gay or bi player in the league. Lien?
Something definitely to take a note of. Thank you so much for that. Michelle Gassoub reporting for us tonight. Well, today is the International Day of Transgender Visibility. The day is designed to spread awareness on transgender issues and empower the community. CBC's Yasmin Gandam brings us the journey of one trans teen here on the Lower Mainland.
You're not alone. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm bad with words.
One voice uplifting dozens of others here at this rally for the Transgender Day of Visibility. I had the chance to speak with Seven Perks, who organized this rally, and hear about its journey. At just 15 years old, Seven Perks already has a lot to reflect on. 3 years ago, Perks, who identifies using the pronouns it/its, came out as non-binary, a change that has increased its self-expression as well as its interest in makeup.
I find it's a good and fun way to express myself. It's like an art medium, except you're constantly showing it to everybody, right?
Seven says the journey hasn't always been easy.
At first, it wasn't that bad, but as I, transferred to high school, not easy at all. Lots of bullying, all that fun stuff. So it could have been better, honestly.
But it is lucky to have a supportive family through the challenges at school.
No one's journey is really the same, right? I was super lucky to have a super supportive family, right? And I found a really good group of friends. I know it sounds like really cheesy and all that, but things probably will get better. They do. It just takes a while.
Seven's mom says it was important to educate herself about its identity.
Wasn't that familiar with non-binary myself, so I did a lot of research, and there's lots of resources available, and really took the cues from Seven on how to proceed.
Perks says the gender clinic at BC Children's Hospital has been helpful in guiding the journey.
The one thing that I felt is that we were the only ones going through this. I think that's sort of how you feel, but the reality is you're not. A lot of people who are going through this, and it's about talking about it and being open that you are able to find your community.
Seven moves schools because of the bullying, allowing it to find a supportive group of friends who are a big part of helping out with the rally. Seven says it hopes the rally helps others find their safe space.
Trans people, we're here, and we're allowed to exist.
Although it was a surprise to Seven's family when it came out, it has not changed their relationship.
They're my children. I love them, so there's no real question about that. And I think that's where everyone needs to come to from that place. I understand that it is a journey for the grown-ups in the room, like the grown-ups to go through as well. But one of my biggest, pieces of advice is that it's not your journey. You're there to support.
So I'm standing here with Jade Weeks, who is the coordinator, the talent coordinator at the Vancouver Pride Society. Jade, tell me, what does it feel to be here today?
It's really fantastic seeing the representation that comes out from all ages. You have the youth that are coming. One of my favorite quotes today I got was, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe my dad would never let me be here." And I love that because people are here, people are showing up, no matter what. The support, even though it's coming down in rain, it's just so warming to my heart.
As you can see, a large turnout here of a rally that was started by 15-year-old Seven Perks, and a lot of people out here showing their support on this Transgender Day of Visibility. Yasmin Gandham, CBC News, Vancouver.
Very heartwarming to hear Seven's story, but this Trans Visibility Day also comes on the heels of several anti-trans decisions, particularly in the sports world, and most notably, World Athletics' decision to ban transgender women from competing in elite female sport. And joining me live is Michaela Toscano, a transgender athlete who has been running competitively as an amateur for the past 15 years. So thanks for joining us, Michaela. When you hear these bans, what message does it send to you and other trans athletes?
Well, I think the way that the bans have been instituted is the most telling thing about them. That World Athletics has claimed that they've conducted research, or they've looked at existing research, but the fact is there isn't that much research out there, especially at the elite level. Similarly, trans men are not banned from competition at the elite international level. So that is curious to say the least, and it's I really wonder a little bit more about what's behind it. As a trans person, these things don't directly affect us, but there are knock-on effects, such as where we're all reminded that that trans people are very different, and or at least this is what we're told, and as a consequence of that, it's they're almost portrayed as cheaters in this case. So I'm hopeful that things will change, and that World Athletics has said that they are going to review this decision in the future. They are going to have a committee led by a trans person, and they are going to conduct research. There aren't a lot of details about that, but I will be watching those things and hope that the situation will change.
Yeah, for sure. I want to dive a little bit deeper into the reasoning. So World Athletics said that its decision is based on the, quote, need to protect the female category. Why do you think that wording is potentially problematic?
It's a really good question. That is, it echoes similar sentiments that we've heard in the U.S., especially in the UK, especially in reference to single-sex spaces that they're called. So change rooms, washrooms, that sort of thing, and saying that women and girls need to be protected. And so protected from whom? The fact is that trans women receive quite a lot of violence and are most likely to be assaulted in those kinds of spaces. And so it kind of echoes those same kind of sentiments, and I think for many people probably fosters the same kind of feelings of fear. And also, I think there may be a touch of misogyny there, or there could be, whether that's intentional or not intentional. There's always these statements of protecting women, and I wonder what other women, especially cis women, what their opinions are of this issue, and if they really, if a majority of cis women feel that there is some kind of threat or serious concern here.
Well, not a lot of research, as you say, right, Michaela? Thank you so much for giving us so much to think about. Michaela Toscano, a trans athlete and runner, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
To other news, a Vancouver Island farmer and poultry company are in hot water over illegally dumped slaughter waste. Residents in the Cobble Hill area filed complaints 3 years ago when they first noticed the farmer was repeatedly dumping it on his property. As John Hernandez reports, despite warnings and even fines from provincial officers, the farmer hasn't stopped.
So every week this drags out is another week's worth of slaughter waste dumped in our community.
It's a sight and smell residents in Vancouver Island's Cobble Hill say they have become all too familiar with. Dump truck after dump truck unloading chicken entrails onto a local farm.
3 years this has been going on and we see no changes. So the main pile was over here.
Andy Stewart was among the first who reported to the Ministry of Environment in January 2020. That prompted a trip from inspectors who quickly noticed the whole operation was illegal.
Farmers cannot bury animals on their land unless they're produced on the land. So they can't take, dead animals or slaughter waste from another site and bring it onto their land without being registered with the Ministry of Environment.
Inspectors also found waste piles were uncovered, attracting birds and wildlife. Waste was also running off into local waterways. The farmer, Gordon Truswell, was issued warnings and repeatedly told to stop over 2 years before being fined $22,000 last November. That's when he moved the operation to a second site just down the road. Residents were shocked.
That's about all that the Ministry of Environment has achieved. They haven't slowed it down, they haven't stopped it, they've just moved it.
This site was inspected in February and more fines have been recommended. The company who is paying Trustwell to dispose of the waste, Island Farmhouse Poultry, was also inspected and told to stop or risk up to $1 million in fines for dumping into the environment. Both sites are in an aquifer recharge area and an already vulnerable watershed.
With slaughter waste, you've got the risk of leachates getting into your water supply down into the ground or the streams, and really the cumulative effects on the fish and wildlife populations and our human, it's really starting to bite us.
Residents here want to see a stop work order. CBC News asked the ministry if it would issue one. It said it's working with the farmer towards a resolution.
And even with that, we're not confident that it won't reemerge in our community.
Trustwell declined an interview but said he's appealing the fines and applying to run a legitimate waste facility. The poultry farm said it's working with the province and is considering new contractors. John Hernandez, CBC News, Cobble Hill.
Homicide investigators are sharing images of two men suspected in the stabbing death of a West Vancouver doctor. The attack happened last week at a condo building on Argyle Avenue. Urologist Francis Este was found with stab wounds in an underground parking lot. He died on scene. Homicide investigators say the incident may be related to Este's activities in the past several months.
I can say that the people that know Dr. Este and that know of these previous events will certainly know what I'm referring to. Again, we ask for anyone who knows Dr. Este, who could speak to these previous events, to please contact IHIT directly.
Documents filed in BC Supreme Court show Este was involved in legal proceedings over the past several years involving family members and property disputes. Anyone with information about the suspects is asked to contact IHIT. New data from WorkSafe BC shows a disturbing rise in workplace violence. The latest stats show accepted claims due to violence have grown 25% in the past 5 years, up from more than 2,200 accepted claims in 2018 to more than 2,800 last year. The agency notes workplace violence occurs most often in the healthcare sector. Starting tomorrow, many forms of prescription birth control will be free in our province. BC is the first jurisdiction in Canada to make prescription birth control free to residents. The initial announcement in February received some pushback from critics for not including certain types of contraception, like condoms, vaginal rings, and transdermal patches. Premier David Eby was out today promoting the new initiative, and he says additions could be considered.
You take it to the pharmacy and you get your prescription, and that's it. You don't pay. And if there are areas that need to be covered, additions, we'll always be looking at that as technology improves.
The Premier says people who don't have a family doctor, about 1 in 5 people living in BC, will be able to get a prescription from sexual health clinics across the province, and pharmacists will also be able to prescribe certain types of birth control. Now to BC's former Premier. After 18 years, John Horgan said his final goodbye to politics today.
My greatest sense of accomplishment is that I was able to work with anybody at any time to try and improve the condition of the people in British Columbia.
Horgan submitted his resignation earlier this month, announcing his plan to step away after recovering from cancer twice. During his leadership as Premier, he was consistently ranked as one of the most popular in the country. Well, the city of Surrey could be one step closer to opening its doors to cannabis shops. Mayor Brenda Locke says she is willing to consider allowing the stores in her city, and community members gathered at a Surrey Board of Trade event earlier today to talk about what's next. But as the CBC's Zara Premji reports, the road to seeing stores opening is far from a done deal.
We compare ourselves to Vancouver, and as mentioned, there's 74 stores right now in Vancouver. Surrey has 0. There's 503 retail stores throughout BC, and Surrey has 0. So why are we behind in, as a community?
Some people living in Surrey feel the city needs to start playing catch up before it's too late. Industry stakeholders gathered this afternoon at a Board of Trade event to discuss cannabis stores.
Do you want to open a shop?
If I was given the opportunity, yes, I would.
But that's not an option in Surrey, at least for now.
As much as I am not a fan of marijuana use, I would like to see us providing that service to our citizens in the city.
And unlike mayors of years past, this mayor isn't saying no. Brenda Locke says her council will consider allowing cannabis stores in Surrey, and she's asked staff to work on a report for council's consideration.
We don't want you going to Delta. We don't want you going to Langley or New West. We want to find a way to make it available here. We just have to make sure we do it right.
When the federal government legalized the sale of recreational cannabis in 2018, Surrey did not jump on board.
And understand that was the mandate of the government, is to keep it away from our children. Are we doing that by not allowing cannabis in Surrey? I don't know.
The business community says it hurts the city's rapidly growing economy.
It's been confusing and disappointing, and it's also a source of revenue for the city of Surrey in the face of significant rising costs.
The Surrey Board of Trade is calling on the city to adapt its policy fast.
I think it's possible to do it before the summer.
That's ambitious. I'm not going to say we can't make it, but it is ambitious. I would like to see something moving forward this year, before the end of the year.
A little bit of hope for those waiting to be part of the change.
City of Surrey is definitely lacking in the cannabis industry, and I'm glad that the dialogue has been brought up by this council.
There's no timeline yet on when the staff report will land before City Council. Zara Premji, CBC News, Surrey.
The fatal attack on a 37-year-old father outside a Starbucks has sent shockwaves of grief and heartache for his family and friends. A makeshift memorial for Paul Schmidt's shocking daytime stabbing in downtown Vancouver on Sunday has been growing. He died in front of a number of bystanders, and at least one person took video of the gruesome attack that has since spread across social media. But we're not going to show you any of that video, as Lindsay Duncombe did speak to Paul Schmidt's grieving family, who are now demanding that it be taken down. She also spoke to the young man who shot it to ask him why, and a caution: the story is disturbing.
He was a great guy. He was a total family man. He loved his daughter. He lived for his daughter.
It's unimaginable that this happened to him.
37-year-old Paul Schmidt was stabbed and killed outside of Vancouver Starbucks Sunday morning. His family says he asked his attacker to stop vaping near his 3-year-old daughter. The toddler and Schmidt's fiancée watched him die.
People chose to videotape it and stand by and watch. That's the most difficult thing.
And that surprised you?
Very much.
Schmidt's parents, Kathy and Stan, say their grief is compounded exponentially because so many people have watched and shared their son's final, brutal moments.
We're really angry, disappointed in people that would post it. And it gets reposted, and the avenues that it gets posted on, Twitter or whatever, that it's allowed to go on there. Like it's a murder scene.
CBC is not showing the video of Schmidt's final moments. It's graphic and disturbing. His mom clicked on it by accident.
And once you see it, you can never unsee it. And it just rolls over in my mind over and over and over, so I can't even grieve my son because I have that image.
Alex Bodger took that video. He describes himself as an influencer and says he's obsessed with becoming famous on social media.
I find street fights pretty cool, so I ran up to take a video. Not really understanding the full grasp of what was happening, I continued to videotape.
He says he didn't initially post it online, rather shared it with the police and other bystanders. But when he saw it was getting many views, he retweeted it.
It really didn't register until the next morning. And so in the moment, it was like, holy crap, I just witnessed this. I didn't fully understand what I just witnessed. And the next morning I woke up, the screams are playing through my head.
Bodger has been attacked online for taking and sharing the video, and he doesn't think people should be posting it anymore.
It is not doing anybody good anymore. At first it was, it blew up. Everybody knows what's going on now.
Schmidt's family members have been calling social media companies to remove the video.
For it still to be out there, that's the problem. We've asked Twitter to take it down. We've got people, family members that are working day and night, just reporting and deleting and reporting and deleting. That's all they're doing to try and get this stopped.
Is there anything else you want to say?
Please take the video down. Please don't watch it. It's horrific. It's brutal. It's hurtful. Just stop posting it. Stop looking at it. Let us be in peace.
Yeah.
Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, Vancouver.
That decision to film Paul Schmidt's death has led to heartbreak and outrage from many, of course, including his family. One professor tells CBC this is the latest instance of an age-old phenomenon and that sharing violent videos can sometimes result in change.
So it's just the latest iteration of coverage of violent events and I suppose the perhaps disturbing human fascination with violence and deviance. It's the sharing of a video of a murder, however we may feel about it, is not in and of itself illegal.
Prince George residents are being advised about poor air quality due to high concentrations of dust. A special air quality statement has been issued for the area. The province says the coarse particulate matter is highest around busy roads and industrial operations. It is expected to last until some sort of precipitation, dust suppression, or a change in traffic pattern occurs. And Kuljit Kayla is in for Johanna Wagstaff today. Kuljit, that was a good advisory for anybody with respiratory challenges.
Absolutely. And we've got some other advisories as well for parts of British Columbia, including a winter storm warning for the Coquihalla Highway, which was issued today. Up to 25 centimeters of snow could fall by Saturday night. So between Hope and Merritt is where that stretch of the highway could see some treacherous conditions. Also for the Kootenay Pass in the southeastern part of the province. And this is all because of a strong frontal system that's making its way down the coast of BC. So we will be seeing some snow mixed with rain for Prince Rupert as well tomorrow. 6 degrees, some sunshine up in Dease Lake, 6 degrees there. Some sun mixed with cloud for Prince George. Snow for Williams Lake at 5 degrees and wet conditions for Kelowna and Cranbrook as well. So tomorrow it will be pretty wet and getting cold for parts of the province as well as for us. Sunsets tonight at 7:40 under a mix of sun and cloud, 10 degrees. Rain tomorrow morning at 6:52 and then rain on and off for all of Saturday, a high of 8. The rain will go away. We will see some sun this weekend and I'll have those details coming up. Leanne.
All right. Thank you, Kuljit. We'll talk to you in a little bit.
You're welcome.
It's a mega merger between two tech heavyweights. But what will it mean for you? We try to break down the Rogers-Shaw merger next. And thanks for joining our commercial-free live stream. Well, water safety is always a top concern for parents, and a new program in New Brunswick is aiming to build confidence in children with autism and prevent drownings by offering personalized lessons. Take a look.
Often children and people with autism are highly attracted to water. It's a strength that a child with autism has. It creates a highly preferred environment, and we can teach to that. Some of these children have not been able to participate in an activity, but they love to swim. And the swimming lessons, the way they were structured, were not working. So we made our own program. And coming from a background of swimming and early childhood education, I saw a need for a specific instructional program for children who have autism. Typically, children with autism learn in a visual way. They have concrete, literal thinking. And I knew we could design a program that would teach them the way that they learn. And also there's some challenging sensory aspects to the pool environments that we have here in Miramichi. There's a lot of light, there's light reflecting off of the waves, there's a loud noise in there. When people talk, it's very echoey. So we designed a program that would lessen those sensory impacts. We keep the toys to a minimum, only a few fun ones instead of having a lot of different colors around the pool environment. We also teach one-on-one. So every child has their own instructor, and that is a proven effective teaching method. And the instructors come to this program with nationally certified lifeguards in their background, as well as autism training.
It's really cool because every kid is so different. Like, you learn so much about every different kid, and the bonds you make with them are so incredibly awesome, and it's really deep. Like, you're on a deeper connection because you're one-on-one. You have to approach things differently. Like, you have to be very flexible.
So we teach basic safety rules, like always swim with another person. I always have to wait for permission before I enter the water. And we know that children with autism in general, they need rules to live by. And they are very concrete thinkers. So maybe we can help prevent accidental drownings of a child who wanders to the water and says, oh, I can't go in without another person. Maybe we can stop them from entering the river or the water. So we have families driving an hour one way to come for half an hour in the pool so that their child can be taught in the way that they learn.
The federal government has approved an agreement that will allow the merger of telecom giants Rogers and Shaw. The $20 billion deal will see Shaw's wireless business, Freedom Mobile, sold to Quebec-based Videotron. This comes 2 years after the merger was proposed and with more than 20 government-imposed conditions. But as Anis Hidari reports, there are lingering doubts Canadians will see the lower fees Ottawa is promising.
Rogers and Shaw are dampening some consumers' moods.
Now we have even less competition, so Rogers is literally going to take over and just do whatever they want because we don't have a choice.
Given the price of our internet and telecommunication service in Canada, I think that's a bad idea.
It's a bit too expensive.
So let me repeat. So rolling back the high cost of wireless service, a key priority for the politician who just approved two telecom giants becoming one.
I want to be clear with everyone that I will ensure that a new fourth national player can go toe-to-toe with the big three and actually drive down prices.
Rogers and Shaw cannot merge unless they sell Freedom Mobile, so it will expand to become that fourth national player under new ownership. A legal ruling already predicted this.
The tribunal found that Videotron would lower prices, and it also found that with Rogers taking over from Shaw, that there would be increase in consumer choice and increased competition in Western Canada.
The federal minister says lower prices are a condition of this deal, so Videotron must offer cheaper options in some provinces, but the lowest mandated price will be $68 a month. If the companies don't hit these targets, there are hundreds of millions of dollars in penalties. But there's also skepticism.
And let's be real here. Everyone knows who comes out on top when someone signs a contract with Rogers. Okay, so it's not the customer.
It won't be long before Shaw logos change to Rogers in cities like Calgary, as the deal requires them to keep a head office there. Rogers must also create 3,000 jobs in Western Canada. The companies expect the deal to close by April 7th. Anis Hidari, CBC News, Calgary.
And for more on what this new agreement means for all of us, I'm joined by Rosa Dario. She's the communications manager with Open Media. They're a nonprofit that advocates to keep the internet open and affordable. So, Rosa, we heard the Minister of Innovation, François-Philippe Champagne, try to reassure Canadians today. You know, he said that he's got enforceable powers to try and keep prices low. Do you believe him? Are you confident in his ability to do that?
Minister Champagne made approving a $26 billion merger between one of the biggest companies in Canada sound like a really, really good thing. And unequivocally, this is bad for Canadians.
Okay, bad for Canadians. That's your take on it. And what do you think this will mean as we translate into phone bill costs? Like, what is that going to look like, you think?
Right. So when it comes to Freedom Mobile customers, Freedom Mobile will be bought out by Videotron, and there may be a reduction in price initially. What's important to note is that Rogers has spent far more money on this deal than they were originally anticipating, and they're going to be looking to recoup those costs. And that comes from job cuts, higher phone bills, or both.
All right, interesting. And so, you know, all these conditions, you know, the enforceable power, so you don't think that's actually going to really make a difference at the end of the day when it comes to costs for consumers?
No, I mean, it's great that Minister Champagne stated this morning that he's a lawyer and that he will be enforcing these terms. But the fact of the matter is, as many of these terms come to their ends, Minister Champagne will likely not be in power anymore. And we know these companies are making billions of dollars from this deal, and their fines that they may face are much less than the costs that they would have to spend to meet those criteria.
Okay, all right. Thanks for sharing your insight today, Rosa Dario. She's the communications manager for Open Media. A horrifying find in the St. Lawrence River between Ontario and New York State. Bodies, 8 of them. Who they were and why they might have been caught in that river, that's next.
It's a cheap method for making a political point, indeed any point. No need to hire an expensive advertising agency. A can of paint, a spray bomb, even a piece of chalk will do.
Goodness me, could this be industry of this age?
Doing it under bridges is easy. All of that concrete provides excellent billboard space. The theme of much of the graffiti is the same. A lot of people are oppressed, and it seems that we're on the verge of a police state. A spray bomb is infinitely better than the explosive kind. The message and the penmanship may leave something to be desired, but at least no one gets hurt. This particular sign here is one of my favorites. It's short and to the point. It has the subtlety of a sledgehammer. But it's also the kind of sign that the Nazis themselves may have used against their political enemies during the 30s. But for selling a strong political line, you can't beat Zippy. He or she is running a fairly effective campaign, graffiti-wise, and Zippy wants to become no less than Prime Minister, not just another Zippy who. The Graffiti Brotherhood also favors obscure philosophical messages. They're plastered everywhere, from the seawall at Kitsilano Pool to the board fence surrounding the Vancouver Courthouse Art House. And it's not just prose that's hitting the walls these days. Art is also making a strong appearance, and dictionaries define this too as graffiti. There's a strong anti-development bias among the graffitiites who, one presumes, would like to turn the entire downtown core into one big Stanley Park. But the new stadium is here to stay, and so are a lot of other projects. And so it goes, people wanting to make the definitive statement, or sound some dire warning, or simply thumb their noses at society.
Police have recovered 8 bodies from the St. Lawrence River in the Mohawk community of Akwesasne. Among the dead are 2 young children, both of whom had Canadian passports. Authorities believe the victims were members of 2 families, one Romanian and the other Indian, who were trying to cross into the U.S. illegally. The chief of the Akwesasne Mohawk Police Service says attempted crossings there are not unprecedented.
Unfortunately, these situations happen. It's not something that's new. We've seen it happen in the past. And hopefully, as we move forward, it is something that we'll be able to reduce, can hopefully one day eliminate, but that maybe just wishful thinking right now, but we are working towards that.
An Aguesasne man is also missing, and police say that he was last seen boarding a small vessel Wednesday night. A vessel matching the one he was operating was found near the bodies. The community is located near the borders of Quebec, Ontario, and New York State. Former U.S. President Donald Trump is scheduled to be arraigned in New York next week. This comes after a grand jury voted to indict him in connection with money paid to an adult film actress amid allegations of an extramarital sexual encounter. The announcement has sparked strong reaction. Chris Reyes has more.
New York City is in full preparation mode, with former President Donald Trump expected to be arraigned at this courthouse in downtown Manhattan sometime next week. The full force of the NYPD has been put on high alert. You can see increased security behind me, barricades still surrounding the building. Now, as for demonstrators, protesters, it's been quiet where we are, but a small group did gather outside Trump Tower. Now, the reaction coming from both Democrats and the Republicans on this indictment coming fast and furious, to be expected. Their views are very polarized.
The unprecedented indictment of a former president of the United States for a campaign finance issue is an outrage. And I think it's clear to the overwhelming majority of the American people that this is nothing short of a political prosecution.
The law should apply equally, and you follow the evidence where it leads. The Manhattan grand jury believes it led to Donald Trump and it led to criminal activity. If that's the case, and the Manhattan DA believes they can prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, he should be prosecuted like anyone else.
In a statement, Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg had this to say: like any other defendant, Mr. Trump is entitled to challenge these charges in court. What neither Mr. Trump nor Congress may do is interfere with the ordinary course of proceedings in New York State.
He is being persecuted politically. That is clear to many people, not only on the right but on the left. And we as Americans honestly should be concerned. Today it's Donald Trump. Tomorrow it's going to be a Democrat. The day after that it could be your brother, your son, your daughter.
Speaking to reporters, President Joe Biden was pressed for reaction today.
I have no comment on Trump.
Near Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida, loyal supporters remain by his side.
This is going to put him in the office right now. So let him arrest him. He's going to win.
Now, right now, we don't have details of Trump's surrender. It's very likely that his lawyers will challenge the charges that will remain under seal until his arraignment. Chris Reyes, CBC News, New York.
If you've got a preteen in the house, you're probably familiar with Minecraft. It's the hottest game in the biz, but a new version is coming straight from a Vancouver developer. We find out how they got the game. That's next. Minecraft enthusiasts will soon be able to embark on a new adventure called Minecraft Legends, created right here in Vancouver. Blackbird Interactive, is a BC studio that played a large part in creating the new game. And ahead of its release, our Akshay Kulkarni went for a tour. Take a look.
This is the entryway to Blackbird Interactive, and we're going to go through the kitchen area, the atrium, and then the kitchen area, and then we're going to go into the Minecraft Legends space. My name is Lee McKinnon-Peterson, and I'm the executive producer of Minecraft Legends here at Blackbird Interactive. Minecraft has been on the market for almost 15 years, so it's almost generations of people have grown up and played it, and millions of kids and now adults have played it, and it's a very beloved game and an extremely beloved IP, so it was pretty exciting and such a privilege to take on this game and to work with Lien Yeung on Minecraft Legends. The project itself started out at the beginning of 2018 in January with a very, very small team. We had about 20 people, I want to say, at that time, and then we grew the team up to 125 at its peak. In Minecraft Legends, you're a hero in the overworld, and you need to unite the overworld against the common enemy of the piglets who are coming to invade. Minecraft Legends is really hard to kind of pin down in terms of genre. It's kind of its own thing.
And Minecraft is quirky and unique. My name is Dennis Reese. I'm the executive producer for Mojang Studios. What's wonderful about this game is that it is a different, like, Minecraft take on how you would go about and execute strategic decisions within a video game.
In Vancouver, we've proven ourselves to be able to deliver, very small indie games and huge, massive franchises like FIFA. So I think Minecraft Legends fits well within that kind of giant range of our capabilities here in BC. Some people who come in regularly just have their setup here. They can work between 1 and 4 days a week here. If you want to work remotely, we're open to that, whatever you'd like to do. We have dogs in the studio, which is a huge bonus for me.
Does the culture of Vancouver show itself in Minecraft Legends? It's a really tough question. I can tell you that the creativity that exists in this area is strong. When you look at what our game is, I have to believe it reflects through some of the creative choices that were made.
We have a really strong reputation in Canada, and I would say worldwide, for game development. So I don't think it was a big surprise that we were able to take on this project, but it's certainly been a privilege to do so.
Well, Kaljit, I can tell you my little nephew, Will, is going to be very excited about that whole Minecraft thing. He's a big gamer.
Lots of kids will be excited about that. Some exciting weather news if you like wet conditions and possibly some snow. We have a strong frontal system making its way across the coast of BC and into the southeastern portions of the province. So we're seeing snow for the Coquihalla Highway, for the Kootenay Pass as well, and for parts of the South Caribou region just south of Prince George as well. Some clear conditions, though, for the lower mainland this weekend. We will still see rain on and off. Today's high 8 degrees, well below our average for this time of year, so it is feeling a little bit colder. Tonight, overnight lows down to 3 degrees. Overnight wet flurries we could see at higher elevations for Whistler and Squamish as well, so things are getting quite cold, and the wind is sticking around by the water as well. 20 to 50 kilometer-an-hour winds overnight and into tomorrow morning. For Saturday and Sunday, on and off rain. Monday, we will see a 40% chance of rain, but mostly sunny conditions. Sun for the middle of the week for next week before it ends off with mostly cloudy conditions, but we will bump back up to double-digit temperatures. But for the time being, we will see some really cold temperatures overnight, especially this weekend. Leanne?
Wow, what a difference, Kaljit, from that really spring-like stretch that we had. Okay, well, bring our jackets. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Just ahead of World Autism Awareness Day on Sunday, a film screening tonight in Vancouver highlights the bond between a girl and her brother who has autism. The film has a BC connection. More on that in a moment. First, here is part of the trailer from When Time Got Louder.
Hey, Caden, how about we call Abby? She's not picking up. Caden, we're going to have to try and talk to Abby tomorrow.
So what's home like? My brother's in his last year of high school. Does he know what colleges he's applying to? I'm not sure.
And you just saw Vancouver actor Jonathan Sineo play the character Caden, who is on the autism spectrum and is nonverbal. He brings his own personal experience to the film and character. He's on the autism spectrum as well. We spoke to him earlier. And joining me now is the lead actor from the film, Jonathan Sabeo, from his home in White Rock. How are you, Jonathan? Thank you for doing this. So, Jonathan, I know you've done some acting before, but this movie was your first time on a feature film set. How did you feel when you found out that you landed the role of Caden?
I felt so excited to be a part of this. When I first read the script, it was just absolutely incredible just how raw and authentic these characters were and this story was, and just how touched I was just by the script itself, and how I felt a very strong connection with the character. I felt that playing Caden, I felt a sense of relief in the sense where I could just be myself and put myself into the role like that.
Wow, so tell me more about that authenticity, and you said feeling that sense of relief. What was it like for you to play a character where you could bring your own experiences to it?
Yeah, so as an actor who's been auditioning for many years, I've had to sort of hide a lot of stimming behaviors for my autism just because it would be a little bit distracting. And a lot of the times I would have to hide and bury a lot of behaviors that I would emit in society in itself. And so being able to play a character where that was allowed to be, and I was able to bring that out, I felt so free, and like I could be myself for the first time.
Did you feel changed from the experience?
Yeah, I felt like I could be more like myself, and I was able to embrace who I was, and it was just a very life-changing experience for me.
And you know, the trailer itself looks so moving. Why was it important for you to be a part of this film and help tell the story?
Well, I think the thing with stories like these involving individuals on the spectrum, typically what happens in media, they are portrayed as people who are gifted. And while that's not entirely inaccurate, they're a very small percentage of the population who are diagnosed as being on the spectrum. This film in particular actually shows a character who is just living with autism and with no special gift per se, but they just have the diagnosis on them, and they are living their lives in a very particular circumstance. And I think what is so special about this film is that how these characters are very real and they're very grounded with each other, and you see them just try and support each other so much. You see how much they care about each other, and it's very, very real in how these families approach a character like Caden or anybody on the spectrum as such.
Well, thank you so much, Jonathan, for sharing some of your experience and what it was like for you being in this film. Lots more to come from you, I'm sure. Thanks for taking the time today.
Thank you so much.
If you struggled to find a bike in the pandemic, you were not alone. But that two-wheel shortage is no more. We visit a bike shop where they say they've got way too many bikes. That's after the break.
Jonathan Riley's heading into the woods to make an important phone call. He doesn't use a number and instead spells out the name of his late friend.
I just share some of the things that, she's been missing the last year. Yeah, I guess it's been 6 months now. And I've called her 2 or 3 times from here. Just to stay in touch.
The wind phone was created in northeastern Japan in 2010 by a garden designer who was mourning the loss of his cousin. He set up an old phone booth with an unconnected phone as a place to release his grief. When the Great East Japan earthquake and tsunami hit a year later, washing away whole towns and stealing the lives of nearly 20,000 people, he opened it to the public. That story caught the attention of Newfoundland-born author Heather Smith.
I was really struck by the children that were entering the phone booth to speak to their lost loved ones. And I really wanted to capture that in a picture book.
Smith reached out to the creator of the phone in Japan to get his blessing to tell the story.
He did say, please do so with a strong understanding of the reality of this disaster and just how devastating it was. I have a philosophy that children's picture books can deal with most topics, and they just need to be told in a gentle way.
The phone booth in Mr. Hirota's garden was published in 2019 and has been used in schools, church services, and funeral homes. Now, wind phone replicas are popping up around the world. Mary Ellen McDonald welcomes their popularity. She's a medical anthropologist at Dalhousie University who specializes in grief literacy.
What I love about the wind phone is it's acknowledging the private nature of grief, as well as the need for a public acknowledgement of grief.
McDonald says Western culture tends to shy away from grief because it's uncomfortable.
We kind of have this social pressure, keep your grief private, and then leave your private place and go into the world. Don't bring it out to public.
Back on the trail, Riley says the wind phone has opened up conversations with more people about death and grief, something he says is healthy.
How do you deal with your grief? And there's a million ways to do. I think there's as many ways as there are people. So this is just another way.
Riley says he's happy if his phone helps even just one person heal. Kimberly Gale, CBC News, Digby.
Vancouver will play a key role in a major entertainment production. HBO has confirmed that its hit series The Last of Us is moving filming from Calgary to Vancouver for its second season.
We are incredibly excited to welcome The Last of Us to Hollywood North as they bring production of their second season to Vancouver.
The show is based on the hit video game of the same name. It stars Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey as Joel and Ellie. The show is set in a post-apocalyptic world 20 years after modern civilization has been destroyed. It follows Joel and Ellie as they try to survive while being pursued by mutated humans infected by a parasitic fungus. I wouldn't mind meeting Pedro Pascal. That'd be cool. All right, do you remember mid-pandemic when toilet paper and baking powder were wiped out from stores? There were also bicycles. Well, that shortage is no more. We checked in with the folks at East Vancouver's Side Saddle Bike Shop to hear about an overabundance of cycles.
So this highly orchestrated global supply chain that was delivering things just in the right amounts, just when they were needed, got all choked up. That ship got stuck in the channel. I feel like that's actually happened and is kind of a metaphor for what happened. So since then, things have been arriving in the wrong amounts at the wrong times. And at one point we had a crazy shortage, and now we have too many. As you can see, it's really crowded in here. I think there's an impression that the COVID bike boom really stuck in people's minds, and that was a really great 2 months. But then we were out of inventory, and all the chaos we've dealt with over the last 3 years for any small business has been really costly. And I think all small businesses are kind of in survival mode right now. We're certainly trying to find our feet after a few years at sea. Our store, we specialize in matching people to just the right bike. I mean, a bike is a consumer good, but it's not generic. It's more like a musical instrument or something. You want to find the one. Small business owners are we're just trying to be a part of the community, and in that regard, we're trying to provide a service and provide good jobs for people and be here when people need us. And what people can do is, in the spirit of reciprocity, support us. Like, really, spending money is super helpful.
But there's 2 boxes on. Support your small businesses. All right. That's it for us tonight. Thanks for being with us at CBC News at 6. A reminder to check us out on GEM if you're not already watching there. Have a great weekend.